All right, all right. Peace, blessing. Okay. Echo, hold on. Okay, wonderful. All right, peace, blessings, enough, holy, plenty, a lot of love to all our queens and all our kings that is here on Deep Dive Globally Changing Life. And of course, all those who are on our varied YouTube channel, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate, really appreciate. To start our program, of course, it is In It to Win It, our signature tune that is gifted to us from Queen Loretta Shadari, our one and only international singing and recording artist. And so, without any further ado, it is In It to Win It.
the closing doors, please.
All right, all right. Uh, yeah, thank you very much, Queen Lerato Shadari. Really appreciate. And so, of course, you know that the thing that I love the most, or the topic that I love the most, is the mindset. Mindset is very important, and to do the mindset, it's yours truly. Just going to be very short or very brief, and we are going to be looking at how to cultivate an abundance mindset. Because, yes, we talk about the mindset a lot. Mindset is very important. And of course, the mindset is what everybody uses in everyday life because your mindset is your belief system. What drives you or what doesn't drive you. All right. And so, and so, therefore, we are looking at most people have a scarcity mindset, claims to be the way things are. A true reflection of the constraint that exists in this world that we are living in. But look a little deeper, and we find that scarcity is more often imposed than natural. It's its pervasive form of conditioning that trains us to see the world through the lens of insufficiency. And of course, the news have a lot to do with that. The news perceived from the powers that be that we are living in insufficiency. Of course, because when you take a look at it, the news is telling you that starvation is here, starvation is there. Um, the countries or the different countries is owing so many billions of dollars. And if almost every country is owing billions of dollars, who is it they owe? that, that is one thing that kind of confused me. So maybe if someone knows exactly who all these countries who owes, because Jamaica owe China, they owe Cuba, they owe America, they owe you know Europe, they owe all over the Germans, they owe all over the place. America, is owing also big, strong first world country, so to speak, is also owing. England, big first world country, is also owing. So it's not third world country only, but even first world country that is bam up there, so to speak, is owing. So who does all these countries owe? I don't even know. I couldn't answer that. But we don't have to live this way because really and truly, that is why if you are a creationist and you believe in creation, you would know that God created everything. So everything is right here in abundance is because some people are holding on, misering. Because when you talk about, let us look at Amazon, because most people in the entire world know about Amazon, right? Amazon, is like you know, three $3 billion industry, right? Sorry, $300 billion industry, right? Not even 300 million, 300 billion. That is the type of revenue that comes in every year. Then if one company is earning that type of money as revenue, where does all of this revenue come from? Consumers. So therefore, enough is here for every person to live comfortably. Okay. they say that to satisfy starvation across the entire globe, it is approximately 40 million. And if one company is making 300 billion in revenue each year, then that can be satisfied with ease. Okay? So it is all about the news and what the news says and what politicians says, right? To understand that life is not a zero sum. No, life is not a zero sum. That our every joy doesn't not have to come from others' loss. That there is more than enough to go around in this entire world that we are living in. If every person on the planet was just to share with every person on the planet, I am guaranteeing you that every person on the planet would have lived or will live a lavish life, a very lavished life. Really and truly, because a lot of people don't want to share. It's all about me, and myself, and I. Of course. So, how to cultivate an abundance mindset? Because, first of all, we have to start with the mindset. It's one thing to say this, though, and another to actually believe it, and then another to actually live it. So, you have to have it, you have to actually believe it, and you have to actually live it. So, unleashing a scarcity mindset doesn't happen overnight, and neither does creating an abundance mentality or mindset. It doesn't happen overnight. I've been working at it for years myself, and I'm still working on it, still working on it, because it's not something that you really achieve. That, oh yes, I've arrived to an abundance mindset. No, it is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. And so, because it's such an un untrenching, unusual way of thinking, a dynamic way of thinking that some people think that they can't think that way. Society mostly want to channel us into a scarcity mindset, into daily interactions. So I thought it might help to share how to develop an abundance mindset. Simple shifting and practices that can help you reframe your thinking. So embrace the act of gratitude, and the right kind, because there's wrong kind of gratitude. So the right kind of attitude is what we need to embrace. One of the things that keep us stuck in a scarcity mentality is that it's so easy to think about what we don't have, and so hard to remember all that we do have. First of all, we have life. So what you do with your life on a daily basis is very important. Focusing on gratitude helps tip the scale back in the other direction. Focusing your attention on the abundance that already exists in your life. Because even if you can't find the rent or the mortgage, from once there's life, there is hope. And so that is how you are to start if you haven't started as yet. as you practice gratitude for the things in your life, the joy you find in those things increases. This builds a foundation for an abundance mindset because it lets you come from a place of already having abundance, as opposed to coming from a place of lack and insufficiency. One note of caution though, expressing gratitude doesn't mean that you have to pretend that everything is perfect and everything is all right in your life. That's not what we're talking about. That you should feel guilty for having anything but a positive mindset. No, right? That's not what we're saying. So, this toxic gratitude often comes in a shaming voice that sounds like this. Uh, Unhappy in my job. Be grateful you have a job. Uh, Angry at your patients for violating your boundaries. Your parents, right? Your parents or your friend or your family member or even your loved one for violating your boundary. You should be grateful that they care so much about you. No, we're not talking about those that are just overbearing. No, but there you will know the difference between an overbearing person and a person who just have concerns. Feeling like you need to get out of a bad relationship. Be grateful you have such a great father for your kids. And if they are not your father, well, or your mother, for your kid, the mother of your kids, right? Still be grateful that at least this person was sharing. Because listen, I don't know if, apart from some twisted minds, we're not talking about those few, but most persons that I know of, at some point, everything started out good. Every relationship, majority of relationships started out good, started out okay, started out with concerns and with love and with respect and all of that. And then of course the dynamics happens and it go into a different direction. But you had some good times. So be grateful for those good times. Unfortunately, you cannot continue with this person because this person is not a full match. Okay? So, this gratitude doesn't cultivate abundance. It's actually the scarcity mindset it disguises, telling you that there isn't enough to go around. So you should feel lucky that you have anything at all. When you are practicing gratitude, it's okay to acknowledge that life isn't perfect. It's okay to recognize that you have things others might be grateful for, but aren't right for you. These admissions only clarify that and deepens the genuine gratitude you have for the things you truly love in your life. So there's lots of ways to practice gratitude, from journaling to writing letters of thanks to people who have helped you in the past. One of my favorites is to do it aloud. Speak it aloud. So even if you write it, speak it aloud. Speak it just to your partner or to a friend or even to yourself. So let us really start to change this ungrateful feeling that is more present in our world and start to lift up ourselves Because I tell you, the more you beat up on yourselves, is the more you are going to beat up on yourself. So let us lift ourselves up. Maybe you do meditation, maybe you pray. Whatever you do, lift up yourselves so that you will find yourself living or start to live an abundance life. Thank you very much. Really appreciate. And I do hope that the words um, meet you in a positive way. I thank you all very much. And is there any questions or concerns? Let me see. All right. So if not, we will go into the next presentation. And that presentation, of course, will be the main presentation. And the main presentation today, he's no stranger to us. He has been here numerous amount of times. He's a trusted leader. He's a mentor and personal development coach. Extensive background in health, fitness, business and leadership development, and finance for over 20 plus years. He has proven to be an excellent teacher, as we have known, and a motivational speaker, drawing an attraction from his audience by the way he engages. He's also a financial specialist. And so, without any further ado, we will hand the mic over to King Timothy Ferguson Jr. as he talked to us part 3. So if you have not watched part 1 and part 2, you can do so. And part 3 of the financial needs analysis. And so at this time, his contact information is in the description and it's also on the flyer. So without any further ado, it is none other than King Timothy Ferguson Jr. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Derrick. Thank you very much for that. I was going to save my time to give feedback on your message with this here, but very uplifting message, and guys, a very, very important message. I love what you said, that if you're hard on yourself, you're going to, things are going to be hard for you. There's no way coming out of this, and I hope that what we're taking notes on this. We are speaking this to ourselves. Is very, very important how we start our days, how we start our days being uplifted and uplifting, because how we start our days is what's going to determine the way our day flows. And I don't mean by saying I start my day as a great day and I'm gonna have a great day. It means that when I start my day in order, I can manage things of my day in order. It's something that's very, very important, something that I've come to learn and recognize and learn, as far as seeing the essential of it. One, not because somebody told me, but because I did things the wrong way before. I would start off my day with my alarm rings, checking my phone, looking at my messages, looking at my emails, whatever news was up. And these are all things that get you going to feeling a certain way. And some of these things, kind of, ring, a staple in you where it's really hard to let it go. So when you're doing things in the midday and later in the day, everything is just off. And then I learned to start my day early in the morning. I try to get up at least 30 minutes before I get my kids up for school and spend that time prayer, meditation. And I'm not saying to doing exactly what I'm saying to do, but spending that one for me, that time with God and just me, just one with him and being able to just have some peace. And when I start the day off with peace, regardless of what goes on in my day, I maintain peace. And I think about it like this, guys. If we're gonna go through things, life is what it is. We can't, determine how things are gonna happen. Do you want to go through these things in stress or in peace? And to me, if we're faced with these things because it's just a part of life, I would rather go through these things or manage things while maintaining peace. And so, how one way to for us to be able to stay uplifting in ourselves is by us maintaining a state of peace in our day to day. And one of the things that is also huge that's associated to our peace of mind, that I would say would be second to that piece, is our finances. Money is the answer to all things, is what we could say. It's what determines when we have certain circumstances that I can fix this, or I can fix this at a later date, or I don't know how I'm going to fix this. And based on the situation at hand and your ability to handle it is going to determine the feelings you deal with, the stresses that you deal with, the challenges, how and it's these stresses that we deal with that affects our thoughts. And therefore these thoughts, it affects our decisions, and our decisions are what affects our lifestyle. And we can all look back and say, I've made some bad decisions. I've made some bad moves. And many of us could say, well, I made these bad moves and bad decisions because of the life that I've dealt with, because of the things that are happening. I just need a break, or I haven't had a break. And, for if you've been around in this world long enough, you'll eventually get to a place of saying, you know what, there's no such thing as breaks. There might be seasons that I might have that are lighter than seasons that are more challenging. But as far as that ideal break of, if I could just get some free time or just a place of just breathe, that's at least that's not something that I've encountered by it just coming. But I can say that I have encountered these breaks not by things being good, but me learning how to handle circumstances in those matters, whereas I maintain peace. And yes, I'll have matters where good, and there will matters that they're challenges, but I maintain peace. Where does money stand in that? It can stand in all three, one of all three of those situations. I have times where money is good and we can take care of a matter. I have situations that are bigger than what my money can afford, and I need to I'll need a little bit of time to get this taken care of. And then there's matters where it's just like, I got to give this to God. This is not something that my money can answer. But the one thing that I'm able to maintain in that is really essential to my well-being is maintaining peace in the midst of it. And one of the matters where I would honestly feel for ones who are walking in faith and standing in faith is that it would be almost an insult to the Most High in not having peace when I can look back at all of the accounts that he's in my life that he has been a blessing to me, where circumstances that could be harder than they are not what they actually are. We call this grace and mercy, and we call this favor. And so but so getting on this matter of money, this is a matter of what I'm talking about, guys, because this is one of the biggest issues for each and every one of us. I believe every one of us, if we had enough time on these calls for everybody that is watching to say, tell me something, tell me something about what's going on in your life right now. 90, maybe 99% of the people will respond giving some type of emphasis that has to do with money in some form or another, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. And so when we look at it like that, we recognize how significant money is as a problem, or as a I don't want to say problem or solution, but as a resource in our day-to-day lives. But the issue that is, it's not the money that's the problem, guys. And in this matter, it's the lack of knowledge and know-how of utilizing money that's the problem. And that right there, when I see a problem and I see that there's an issue because of a lack of knowing how to manage this problem, I automatically look at this as this is not a situation because life is just hard. This is a situation because we're untrained. If you take a group of kids that are trained in a gym class and they know how to run laps and do whatever that they're doing in gym class, and then you take another group and they're not trained and you see how they perform, you're not going to say, oh man, these kids that are not well and performing are a problem. You're just going to say they're unlearned. And so we need to train them, teach them. And when we teach them, we have expectations that their performance is going to improve. And so what do I mean? What does that have to do with money? That if a lot of our decision making, our thoughts, how we view things are associated because of an untrained mind when it comes to money, I believe that if there is knowledge that is associated to with that we learn, and with this knowledge, putting things in proper order in association to this, we're going to see things are going to be different. You're going to, handling the day-to-day in lives is going to be easier. I didn't say easy, but it's going to be easier. And I'll take our easier over hard any day. So you those who've been on this call before, you've heard me in regards to talking about the financial needs analysis and what it is. And for those who are new on this call, I'm going to do just a recap of what the financial needs analysis is and how crucial and how important it is to our day-to-day lives. And so the best way that I can put an F&A being for those who may not know what this is or are still having some questions and challenges when we talk about the money subject, I want to give you an objective perspective of looking at the F&A by relating it to what we all can relate to. If you have a driver's license or if you've driven in long destinations before, a tool that I call a GPS. Okay. And for those who are my age or older, we can relate to times where we had to get around destinations using a map. Point being, we needed some kind of guide or direction to see where we're at and to see where we're going. That's going to determine where we're going to go, how long it's going to take, whatever the case may be. But today's age, guys, we have what we call GPSs. If you drive a car that's 2010 or more, or 2012 or newer, you're going to have a car that will have a GPS system in it. And where you can just enter in the address of your destination, and it's going to tell you where you need to go. It's going to tell you how long it's going to take to get there. It'll give you a couple of routes that you can take in choosing which one's going to be the fastest of your choice. In fact, you have these cars now, like these electric cars that are now talking to you and telling you where you need to go. It's just getting more and more extensive when it comes to that. And one of the and I don't think any of us who drive vehicles today that have these features complain about having a GPS to get to our destination. In fact, if we were to rent a vehicle and it didn't have one, that would be one of the things we would complain about. It doesn't have a GPS. Man, I got to go back to my phone, or I got to go back to the old, pull up a map. And so we see the benefits of it. And here's the thing. Let's just say, for example, you decide to go on the destination, take your family out, get them in the van, and we're just going to drive head west or north or wherever it is that's opposite of your location. And I don't think any of us would say, you know what, I would just follow the map. Let's just follow the signs and just see where we go. Nobody's going to do that. Why? Because of all of the costs associated. Getting lost, driving where we're not supposed to, either with that unnecessary driving. It's costing us gas money. It's costing us time. It's costing us a lot of things we really don't want to pay for. And it doesn't matter. In the other case in the matter, let's say that we did drive and let's say we thought we knew where we were going. We didn't necessarily need a map, need a GPS or anything. We've been down this road before. But in the case, which does happen, is we get lost. And when you're lost, we ask ourselves the question, do we stay lost or do we seek direction? Think about that. Think what it would be like if I live in the Metro Detroit area, and let's just say, I wanted to drive to Georgia. My father-in-law is in Georgia, and we decided that we're just going to drive and just head south. And I'm thinking that I know where I'm going. I don't need anybody to tell me anything, and I get lost. And not only am I lost, but I'm in a place and I don't know where in the world I'm at. I'm in a city I've never heard of. I might be in a state I'm familiar with, but I don't know where to go. You know, I don't think that it would make sense for me to tell my family, like, well, hey, you guys want to just suit up here? Let's find a place to live and just relocate. You know, I don't think that would be something that they would find, as sufficing, because our lives is someplace else. And two, the costs and everything that comes with having to readjust to this is too much. But it wouldn't make sense. What we would say is, we would need to find a map. Hey, can somebody help us in getting to where we want to go? If we can use somebody else's GPS, or let me go to one of these stores and find a picture map. But I'm going to do something to figure out where I'm at so I can see where I need to go. And when I find out where I'm going to go, I realize right there, it just the light comes on. Oh, wow, we're 5 hours away, or 7 hours away, or maybe even closer. Who knows? But the point is, now we're back on track. And now that we're back on track, we're going to continue to go about fulfilling our destination. I think we all can agree on with these matters that we would all do the same thing. Okay. So what does this have to do with our finances and the financial needs analysis tool? Well, guys, it's everything to do with this, because the financial needs analysis is a financial GPS. It is the tool that we can use that tells us where we are right now, based on where we all intend to go. And I would say for most of us, if we're all working a job and we have a career and we intend to retire one day, it tells us where we are at in route to retirement. How close we are? Are we on track? Are we not on track? How long it takes how long it's going to take for us to pay off our debts. Is it, I own a home, I have financed vehicles, I have student loans. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how much it's going to cost me, but with the F&A tool, it tells you all these things. Looking at your regular day-to-day resources, how much you spend on a regular basis, it puts everything on paper. And guys, when it comes to numbers, I believe we all can agree that numbers, when once associated to any matter, brings credibility. In fact, it brings the ultimate credibility to the picture. So as a result, I believe that each and every single one of us should have an F&A done. What is there to be afraid of? There's nothing to be afraid of. In fact, if you are afraid to have an F&A done, that's you being the person that's saying, I'm lost and I'm just going to just stay lost. I'm just going to just, stay where I'm at and just reside and, start a new life over, which makes no sense when you have access to a map. Now, let me say this, as I mentioned before in my previous messages about the F&A. This is a tool that is available to each and every one of us. You can go to a bank, you can talk to a CFP, or you can go to any other place out here where someone under the financial advisor title can sit down and talk to you about an F&A. But here's the caveat to this, is that the industry that we're in, whether you're at a bank or whether you talk to some of these other people, they'll provide you an F&A. They'll say, come on in. I'm so excited that you're excited about your future and everything. They'll offer you coffee and donuts, make you feel like you're on your way going somewhere, until they hand you a bill. And that bill is not $25, $35, oh, something that, I might spend, going out to eat somewhere. The average F&A bill that people are charged is around $1,000 to $1,500. Now, for one who's motivated and saying, I want to know these things, I'm willing to pay I'm willing to do what I need to do in order to get ahead, except for we have a caveat that we deal with, and that is that most people don't have $1,000 to $1,500 to set aside for an F&A. And let's just be real, guys. Let's just be real, okay? And maybe you guys can agree. Put your hand in the chat, and if you agree. I think that it would be kind of challenging wanting to put up $1,000 to $1,500 into something that I don't know anything about. Okay. Something that I've said before in another message I talked about is things that we do that fall into our time asset management. That's either wasted time, spent time, or invested time. And that applies to money as well. There's things that we look at that are either wasted money, spent money, or invested money. And anything that we are associated to or that we get introduced to that we know nothing about for the most part, or little to nothing about, or we do know about it, but we don't know the positives about it, they're going to automatically be a waste of money or appear to be a waste of money. So $1,000 or $1,500, that's a lot of money to look at that we would consider that might be considered a waste of money. $5, $10, I can splurge on that, but not $1,000. And so as a result, most people don't look to get an F&A. They're like, hey, I'll find another way to be able to figure out how I can do this without avoiding paying $1,000 or so. And for some who do say, hey, you know what? If I had the money, I would get it done anyway because I know the importance. They still can't get it done because of the conditions of their finances. Now, one of the things that Dr. Derrick had mentioned in his as he was speaking in his mindset was associated to the world we live in. And it's a world where I would say in words is not fair. Unlike the kingdom of God, or for some of you who have grown up in kingdoms that are considered commonwealth kingdoms, and in this case, we live in a world where everybody wants for themselves, and everybody only believes that they can get for themselves by doing whatever that they can do to get it, rather than things just being available for everybody as it should be, so that we all can be able to thrive. When I look at this, the dynamic of the culture that we live in and the industry we're in, I'm just going to be honest with you. When it comes on a scale of 1 to 10, when you say how much do you trust the industry that you're in, when we talk about finances and financial services, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I trust it as 0. Okay. Wall Street, or however you want to call it, this industry is an industry that has the resources to be able to help everybody, but only chooses to help those who can help themselves, or help those who can benefit them. And to me, I think that is totally wrong. It's wrong because I think about it from the matter that you have families who have children, multiple children, who all have needs, multiple needs, the same way as any other family who has needs, but are lacking these resources or are lacking these things in dealing with challenges that could be easily avoided had they had the resources offered to them. And so as a result, that's just my stance in it. So some of you might say to yourself, well, why are you in it then? If you can't stand it so much, why are you in it? Good question. As an entrepreneur, the definition of one who sees a problem and creates a solution to that problem, I'm in this to fulfill a purpose. I'm in this to fill that void that this industry keeps open. And the reason why it's open is because most other people don't care to do it. They're still with that mindset of thinking about themselves. How can I benefit? Whereas to solve this void, you have to have a mindset of how can I benefit you? And with that being said, your need and your fulfillment takes priority over my personal need and my personal fulfillment. Hey, in a commonwealth kingdom, my needs are going to get met. No need to worry about that. And for all who are understanding that and live by that, you'll understand and can apply things in the same way. I'm going to share my screen here really quickly just to show you something. I want you to see how this. Let me see. Give me 1 second. My entire screen. Alrighty, and let's see here. Alrighty, I'm sharing my screen with you guys basically just because what I'm saying is one thing, but what I'm saying and what I'm showing you gives you a little bit more to retain to understand where I'm coming from. And so what I call this is for what I do, because it's helping people, I call it the 90% crisis opportunity. Why do I call it an opportunity? Because it's It's something that is out there that there's an opportunity to be able to help people. And in association to this 90-cent crisis opportunity, today, guys, 90% of families have no income debt free. 90%. When we talk about the millions of families out there, that's millions of people. 90% of families today have 2 years or less of insurance coverage. Some we can call it life insurance. I call it income protection because it's bigger than that. And unlike auto and home that replaces cars and homes, life insurance doesn't replace lives, but it replaces income. And so I really think that the industry should change the name of it because to give it more of a understanding of what it's really for. But guys, today there's a $25 trillion shortfall, nearly $500,000 per family in this area, in this matter right here that are experiencing this. And I'll talk about that more in detail when I get to that. But 90% of families today have less than 90% short on their savings for retirement. This is huge, guys. And this is, if a couple turns 65, one of them will have until 92, if they're still alive, will be required to keep a job or a part-time job in order for them to live without their money falling out or going away. Okay, huge shortfall. And this is not, and this is something that for the most part, most people working 25, 30 years ago didn't necessarily think about, because the one thing that retirement plans today, whether you 401k plans, or these type of plans that are out here, they are employee based rather than employer based. So your retirement is based on the money that you earn, which is and what the employer contributes, and then your contribution matched to it, and it does not account for inflation. For some who have worked in jobs prior to maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago, they had pension plans, and pension plans act more were employer based plans that act in the best interest of the consumer, whereas you got paid until you died. The check amount that you might get may vary based on a few things, how much you have in your pension and how old you are and whatnot, but you didn't worry about not getting a paycheck. If you want to be able to supplement that today, guys, you got to get an annuity. And as a result. But the point of my matter is that most people are not prepared for retirement. But what's worse is most people don't know that they're not prepared, and most people don't know how much they're not prepared. And so when people see this, they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I knew this 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And here's the problem. Unlike money that you lose, you can get it back. With time, once lost, we can't get it back. So saying I wish I knew is like one of the worst things to say and one of the worst feelings to have, because whatever I do, I now have to make that up within the time that I have. And so, and lastly, guys, 90% of families today have no legal protection. And what do I mean by that? I mean that most of us, I grew up in a household where if something happened, we had some kind of issue that where we were, treated unfairly. And then in this case, or we, got a wrong ticket or something like that, we had to pay for it. We had to deal with it. We had to deal with the long-term consequences with it. We couldn't afford a lawyer. Most of us, we'd say to ourselves, man, the cost of getting a lawyer costs more than the problem itself. I'd rather just pay with the problem and deal with all of the issues that come with it, But this is not how the 10% work. They have these resources. They have an attorney. They have someone that's there to give them the loopholes, to show them what they can do to better their circumstances and in the matter. In this case, matter. But they make it almost seem like it's a benefit to have these things when it should be considered a non-negotiable in having these things. And that's where my objective is, in doing so. And so here's the thing today, guys, is one of the things we have just to kind of give you a little bit of comparison of what we have and what people that are out there serving problems. Today, we have over 3 plus million doctors and nurses that exist today. So in the healthcare industry, you don't see this kind of issue the way we see this when it comes to finances. We have over 2 million lawyers that exist today. So when it comes to legal matters, we don't see a shortfall in the legal industry. and it is safe. We have over 2 million real estate agents. There's no shortfall in trying to find somebody who can help you find a home. But we only have around $350,000 financial professionals that exist today, and the average age is around 64. And over 90% of them refuse to help over 90% of the population. So what am I saying here, guys, is that there are not a lot of people that are out there that are like me. So if you want to talk about, the resources I have, the GPS tool that I have, it's a very scarce tool that's out there. You can't just go anywhere and find it. And as I mentioned to you before, 90% of people like me don't care to help you. Unless you got something in your pocket that, that I can put a smile on my face. And that right there is the problem here that I see as, as a result. So when we talk about the financial needs analysis, before, I want to address a few things, guys, that I mentioned, what I call non-negotiables. Okay. What's a non-negotiable, guys? Something that is a must-have. Not a negotiation. If I have it, great. If I don't, I'll live without it. No, this is a must-have. But what I've found myself, what most of us have found ourselves doing, is we found ourselves living in association to these non-negotiables being negotiable. And so how do we identify the non-negotiables to our finances? Guys, I for some of you that were here before, who I showed you this model. I call it the financial house. And if you guys got a pen and paper, draw a house and draw out this model. Okay. And if you got a pen and paper and you don't like to draw, at least take some of the notes down of what I'm sharing with you. Okay. And so just like I gave you the objective principle of a GPS that we all can relate to and to understand the importance of a financial GPS, I have this principle as what I call a financial house. And the best objective model that we can relate a financial house to is a home. Something we all live in and reside in. Okay. And in our homes that we live in, the objects associated to our house all play different roles in our essential and non-negotiable. Okay. I don't know of anybody who has found it acceptable to live in a home without a roof, or to have walls that are so thin that you can just cut right through them. Okay. So, there's areas that we deal with that are non-negotiables. In fact, as I mentioned to you, the doctors that are out there, the lawyers, the real estate agents that are out there, they provide services that avoid, that avoid you from negotiating with the non-negotiables associated to those matters. That's why there's medicine out there. That's why there's real estate agents in all type of loan products that are out there for you to help you where you're at. Okay. But it's not like that in the financial industry. You don't see all these features and benefits that are for the benefit of the people like that. But so as a result, I want to show you guys what a financial house looks like and what are the non-negotiables to that. And so the first thing that I want you guys to understand is that I'm going to break this down into three main factors: foundation, walls, and the roof. Okay. We all understand the importance of the foundation of our house. And the foundation of our house basically is what keeps the house solid. That's what's going to keep it where if the weather gets crazy, we're not rocking, we're not moving anywhere. Okay. And so what is the foundation of our financial house? The foundation of our financial house is what I would call income protection. All righty. And what is income protection? I mentioned this before. We call this life insurance, but there's the life insurance that most people either get or that they're offered is not income protection. You having $5,000 coverage on yourself so your family can cremate you does not replace the income that you were providing that paid your mortgage, that paid the car notes, that paid the resources that was a foundation to the future that you guys were building. It doesn't do any of these things. But what do we know? What do most people know about this? Very, very little. So income protection is a non-negotiable. We should all have a protection plan that's what the cost of it is no more than 5% of our monthly income. Okay. And now here's a question we got to ask ourselves. Do you currently have an income replacement program? If you don't, you need to get one. Tomorrow's not promised by anybody. I know it seems like it because nobody's planning to like, kick the bug, the next day, but it happens. Okay. And that's not something that I want to live by, where I'm living in a home and I'm counting on the weather to not be so bad to where nothing happens to my home. Okay. I want to be protected. The next thing, guys, that we want to have is when it comes to our home that's non-negotiable is a solid roof. Okay. And the example of a solid roof, guys, in our financial house is legal protection. All righty. Now, what do we mean in legal protection? Ask yourself, we got to ask ourselves the questions. Do we have a living will? If something were to happen to me, the assets that I own right now, are they protected? Some might say, yeah, maybe so. Who knows? Maybe not caring. But in this case, do you want your hard work? You've been working 20 years, 30 years. The resources you've been paying on these things. You've been paying on a mortgage. You have all these things that you've been building for years. Do you really want these things to be put in the decision of a probate judge, where something happens to you, God forbid, untimely, and now the judge decides what to do with it? He decides to give your resources to somebody who shows up to probate getting it that's not worth getting it or not worthy of getting it. Would you really want that? Or you're still here, but something happens. People, stroke related issues or things that happen that I can't make decisions for myself. Do I really want my finances and my resources and my assets to now be put in the hand of one of my children that aren't the best at decision making, and in this case, or a family member that does not that I wouldn't consider is best in decision making for me? And in this case here, no, I know who I would want to make these decisions. Okay, and so with legal protection, having it established to have a living will put in place, or setting up what you call a limited power of attorney is essential. These are all things that are just in place in case something happens. It's covered. My assets are covered. In the matter here. So the question is, do I have a will? If you don't have a will, guys, we need to talk. Okay. The next thing, guys, we're going to move on to the walls of the house, and the next is what I call an emergency fund. Now, I've asked people this question. I said maybe I went out to like 20 people and asked me, ever heard of an emergency fund? And man, I don't have time to tell you the answers that people have told me what an emergency fund is, but it was nothing to do with what an emergency fund is. And if you do know what an emergency fund is, great. Okay. The main matter in this case is what is an emergency fund, and what is its purpose? Why do we need it? Why is it a non-negotiable? And so an emergency fund, guys, put in a nutshell, is a savings fund that is intended to replace credit cards that you own, and to be a hedge of protection, a hedge to protect your assets. Okay. What do I mean by hedge of protecting your assets, guys? We all have get hit with hardships and hard challenges. And one of the worst things that we all feel like having to do when things get tough is to pull money out of our 401k, to pull money out of our retirement. This is money that's supposed to be growing that I can live off of, but now I'm taken away from it. Okay. It's the worst thing. It's the worst feeling to do it. We have to do it. We've had to do it. But if we don't have to do it, we sure don't want to do it. And so if there's a way you can show me how to create that, I want to know what that is. So the next question is, and what an emergency fund is supposed to be consisted of, is at least 3 to 6 months expenses for emergencies. Not, oh, you know what? I just saw something on Amazon, it's 40% off. I'm going to dip into that fund to go ahead and buy it. No, that's not what this is for. Okay. This is for, you know what? My tire busted. My battery went out. I had an alternator issue with my car. Some issue came, somebody, my roof has some problems, it's leaking. Okay. My kid is in a hardship and they need some money, or I got a great friend that need some money and they're asking me for a loan. Okay. This is what this is for, something I can pull out to help them. But the objective of this fund, guys, is because, I mentioned, is replaces credit cards, which means we're supposed to treat it like a credit card, which means that whether I loan the money back and I get paid or not, paid back or not, I'm paying that fund back. Okay. I'm going to pay that fund back. If I give money to my kids or to fix my car, whatever that money was, I'm putting that back in the fund. I'm going to make a way and get that in there. Why? Because this fund is making money for me. And the more money that is in the fund, the more it's going to generate. All righty. Well, what do you mean by making money for you? Well, hey, when you own a credit card, you're making money for the credit card company. That 19% interest or whatever percent interest that we have to build up our credit, we're making them rich. Okay. If I had the choice to choose, am I going to pay Visa and make them rich, or do I want to pay myself and make me rich? Which one would you choose? Okay. I personally would choose B. I would choose me. And I believe each and every one of you guys, if the choice, would choose yourself as well. Well, guys, having a non-negotiable, non-negotiated emergency fund in your financial house being a non-negotiable is how we create that matter there. Okay. The next thing is debt elimination. Okay. We all are paying on debts. And the only person that can take out a loan and pay it back to you interest-free is the government. Not fair is just what it is. That's what a tax return is. But in any other case, if you want to take out a loan, you got to pay it back with interest. And what most people are considering in the matter is, I just want to have the best credit so that I can have the smallest interest rates, guys. And I get it. Yeah, if you're going to pay, you want to pay the less as much as possible. But that's not the reason why you want to get a credit card. I'll get to that at another time. But we want to get the objective is to pay the debts off. I want to pay my credit cards off, get them paid off as fast as possible. They all have payoff dates, guys. You know, the great thing about the fund is it'll show you what your payoff dates for each and every one of these are. And when you look at these, the question is, do you want that to be your payoff date? And if I can show you how to accelerate that payoff date where we can shave years from the payoff, saving you thousands, even hundreds of $1,000s in interest, would you be open to it? Okay. I don't know anyone who says, no, I wouldn't be open to it. That's like the person who's lost and says, you know what? I just want to stay lost. Doesn't make sense. Okay. And so we want to do that. So the question is, do you have a debt freedom date in the next 10 years? If you don't, guys, we need to talk. Okay. And next is what we call on the with the walls, it's called becoming an investor. Now, what does becoming an investor mean? And let me just say this really quickly, guys. And I know I'm trying to speed this up so I can wrap up. A lot of people have had some very poor experiences when it comes to investment. I'm just being real with you guys. I talk to a lot of people. I deal with a lot of people. I sit down with them, and I hear the stories that people have experienced, and it's just like, you know, man, I'm so sorry for the things that you've experienced. And the biggest apology I have is I'm so sorry that you've experienced these things without education. You know, taking the word of somebody just because somebody knows you or whatever the case is, and dealing, and giving that person a hand to your life is very, very, I don't want to say risky, it's foolish. Okay. What I do with every one of the people I sit down with is is I tell them the worst case scenario you're going to get out of me is a financial education. Okay. You're going to know the ins and outs of what we're doing every step of the way. And in fact, I'm not going to move forward until you can move forward with me in understanding. Okay. Why is that important? Many, many reasons. One reason I'll point out is because, hey, what you may know is error. And if you're talking to somebody else that does not know, and they're sharing some error information that you're unable to associate as an error, it'll start getting you to start thinking backwards, start thinking in error. Like, well, I'm now questioning my advisor. He told me this. I don't know about that. And then now you're the error thinking that got you into the place that you're in right now is the error thinking that you start going by. That's like being on that driving to your destination, and then somebody told you, hey, you're going the wrong way. And you look around and you're like, maybe I am. And then you turn around and you go backwards. And so not only are you not going to your destination, but you're getting further and further away, just to find out later on, oh man, I just got hoodwinked here. Okay. So being educated in this is the most essential part of this matter. Everything that's being done. And it is my objective that you get educated and that you understand this the same way that you understand how to perform your job. When you say, I've been working there for 5 years, 10 years, you know what you're doing. That's the same way you need to understand your finances. And that's what we're here to show you. And so becoming an investor is understanding the concepts of now with that financial freedom date, I want to turn my debt into income. I want to put my debt to work for me. Okay, guys, did you know that money works 168 hours a week? Okay, let me say that again. Money works 168 hours of the week. Well, how many hours can I work? Well, by law, you can only work 40. Okay, if the company is generous, they can pay you time and a half to work an extra maybe 5 to 10 hours, in this case. But that's it. If you got a business, you can put other people to work, but they're limited to 40 hours. And there's other matters that come with this. So money, guys, is one of the greatest working tools when it's working for you. It's always working. It's always working. But if it's working, do you want it to work for you, or do you want it to work for someone else? Do you want to work for MasterCard or Visa? Do you want it to work for the loan that you're paying off, or do you want it to work for you? Well, if I'm going to, you create a trajectory window on this, I want it to work for me. Well, that's what this is for, is showing you and getting you in that place so you can do that. So becoming an investor is now turning that debt into a working vehicle that's going to generate income for you. Have you ever heard the term multiple streams of income? Okay, you may have heard this term. You hear people talking about it. We should all have multiple streams. Some people feel like, no, I pride myself in making $150,000 on one income. That's great that you're making 6 figures on one income, but if you lose that job, it's gone. Okay. No, there's, and I'm going to give you an example. Again, I'm going to bring this to a place of what we can all understand when this talking about farming. We all understand the concept of seed time and harvest. And I asked this question. I said, if I gave you 5 acres of land, what would you do with it? Would you plant a large apple vineyard on it? And, I remember one guy, he said, heck no, I would never plant a large apple vineyard on it. And, he had the other people kind of looking like, why? I mean, apples are a great harvesting resource, man. That's a lot of apples you can harvest in the fall. And, and it's just like, yeah, it's a lot of apples I can harvest in the fall, but the only time I can harvest is in the fall. And if I got 5 acres of land, I want to diversify those acres. I want to put 1 acre making it an apple tree. I'll put another acre and plant a vineyard. I'll use another acre towards livestock. I'll use the 4th acre towards this and towards that, where I have where I have different resources harvesting in different seasons for different reasons. Okay, so I'm not relying on September and October to be my season where I can harvest. I'm harvesting all year round now. Okay. That's what we call a diversified portfolio with multiple streams of income. And if you do make a lot of money, 6 figures, well, bet your butt you'll be sitting down with somebody who wants your money, who's going to tell you about a diversified portfolio. I don't want your money. I want you to have your money. So the objective here is becoming an investor and then asking that question, do I have a plan to duplicate my paycheck at retirement? If you don't have that plan, we need to talk. And lastly, guys, and this is for those who have children and who desire that the children who are the latter shall be greater. And we talk about college savings. And so if you are one where you desire that for your kids to go to school, and it doesn't matter, one thing we can all relate to is that college tuition is increasing and increasing and increasing, and it's not going to stop. And so, having programs or ways that we can create tuition plans where we can pay college for college at today's college rates versus at tomorrow's college rates is an option. Or creating investment accounts, what we call custodial accounts for your children, whereas by the time they're in college, they're ahead of the game. We have programs that you can take advantage of now, where if you plan to do it anyway, you might as well get it started as soon as possible. Okay. And so the question is, do I have an education account? And if that's something that you intend on having one day, you want to get it as soon as possible. And so for the persons that are saying that I intend on having goals and doing things, I don't know. I'll think about this. I'll get around to it later on and stuff. What are you saying to yourself? You're not saying that your situation is not a crucial matter. what you're saying to yourself is that this right here is not an investment. It's not worth my time. It's not worth any of the things that I need to do in this matter here. I'm looking for another solution. And guys, listen, are there other solutions that are out there? Of course, there are multiple solutions that are out there. But again, just like there are multiple routes to a destination, the question is, what's going to be the fastest, the most efficient destination to get to my destination? That's what I want to find out. And that's what the financial needs analysis tool is used for. And as I said to you guys before, and let me just see where I can do. I want to close my screen. All right. As I said, what I was the thing with before is that what is how serious am I about getting there? And this right here is just the tool to show you. This is showing me where I'm going. There's no buying into this. There's no cost involved in this. There's no time wasted in this. This is all an investment. This is the first step of investment. If I'm dealing with these matters in some form or another, I need and I have questions on these things, or if someone asks me and I can't give a definitive answer, I need to find out. Okay, prior to you guys listening to this, you had the conditions that, man, it costs money that I may not have, or I just don't know, or there's other conditions that get in the way. We're removing all conditions from the equation to where if we're not doing it now, the question is, why not? Maybe you don't trust me, but hey, that's where at least the whole purpose in the matter of why I said to you guys, I didn't say to you guys, if you don't have one of these, you need an F&A. What I said to you guys is, if you don't have one of these, we need to talk. Okay. Just for a few minutes, because what is very, very important to this matter is relationship, knowing me, knowing my team, knowing what we do, and understanding the significance of that in developing these things and doing this for one another and building on these matters here. But it starts somewhere, guys, and that somewhere is where we're sharing right now. And so if you wrote these down, if you took notes with those things, and you can say to yourself, I don't have this, or you know what, I got one, but I got one a long time ago. I need an update on one. Whatever the case may be, if you don't have one, and in this case, you need one, because you're going somewhere. We're all going somewhere. If you have debts, if you have retirement, you're going somewhere. What sense does it make to be going somewhere and not know where you're at in the process of going? Only to find out later on that, oh, it's not where I thought I was, or I'm not going where I thought I was going to be. What sense would it make to go down that road when you can just find out and then make the adjustments, or at least confirm that, hey, I'm on the right track? Awesome. Guys, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you, Dr. Derrick, again for this opportunity. I will continue to stress this because, again, this is essential. This is not about me. This is about you and getting you where you need to be. And so, Dr. Derrick, I thank you again for your time. Peace and God bless.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, King Tim. Really, really appreciate you every time. And any questions or concerns, anyone, just to remind you, his information is in the YouTube description. So if you need his information, his phone number is email, and his website. It is right there in the description on YouTube. So let me see if there's any. Okay. All right, just saying thanks and so on in the YouTube channels, and great information and uplifting and encouraging, that more likely is the mindset. All right. So thank you all very much. Any questions? Any comments? The hand raise is here in the meeting platform here. All right. So it seems as if everybody is good. Okay, not seeing any questions. All right. So at this time, just going to ask King Tim to give his final remarks.
Thank you again, Dr. Derrick. Yes, guys. Any questions that you have, guys? My information is available for questions. In fact, 5 to 10 minutes, is what I look at inquiring. You guys basically, have my information to contact me, and I'm available at throughout the day. I spend my time either on phones with others, setting meetings or in meetings, but reaching out to me, I pick up my phone. If I don't, I will call you back. But 5 or 10 minutes, guys, is what is essential to seeing where we're at in this. And for some of you guys, if you say, well, hey, I don't mind putting my information in the private chat, where you may want to pass your number to me and I can give you a call at the available times that you are available, I can reach out to you. I get it. We get busy and it can, lose track of things or, that focus and miss out. And so as a result, I want to make it available that, hey, if you want me to contact you, put your information in the private chat and I can reach out to you and make the first step to getting our financial lives in order. Whereas, as what Dr. Derrick was mentioning in the mindset piece, us being able to manage the circumstances that we're dealing with our mindset in a more proactive and productive way. Again, thank you very much, Dr. Derrick. Thank you, everybody.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much, King Tim. Really appreciate it. And thank you all very much for joining us today. Remember, the mindset is very important in life. Very important. And I do thank everyone on the YouTube also for joining us on Deep Dive Globally Changing Lives. So at this time, we will be closing the YouTube. And of course, here we have a little after party. So I just want to remind you that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, those are the live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for one global movement. And the rest of the weekday, that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's recordings. So Tuesday and Thursday, it's one global movement in the afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on Thursdays and Tuesdays, it's deep dive globally changing lives. On Mondays at 7 p.m., it is Mindset Monday. And on Thursday morning, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's All Passion Global, Singapore and Malaysia. And of course, on Sunday, 12:45, it is Dream Team, 12:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thank you all very much for joining us and for being here with us on Deep Dive Globally Changing Lives. Do have yourselves, especially those on the YouTube, do have yourselves a wonderful evening. Enjoy the rest of the week.